Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at an Aggro Portalcraft deck. This one focuses very heavily on just purely throwing down board presence and at the same time trying to get things like Artifact Spark to go off and deal some damage. Obviously Sylvia's effect is big in this kind of build because you really want those pings, so it does have quite a low curve on it, only going up to 5 maximum, which isn't a big surprise for aggro decks, but in the current kind of play space it is quite low. So it's running a reasonable amount of legendaries, I guess, at 8. That's a pretty solid number these days. Around 6 to 8 seems to be kind of the minimum range for most decks, which is a little disappointing in some ways, but still not totally bad. Of course, running a fair few good goals. Devil of the Gaps is one that actually interests me. I never really got a chance to use her fully. I would have loved to have used the blades a little more effectively, but outside of those, this deck was a lot of fun to play. It uses some of the good cards that Puppet tends to use, like Gunsmith and Loco, while at the same time taking advantage of Artifact's kind of pressure, which is always nice. So we're going to get right into it and check it out. So this deck was another one that I'd found on Twitter, just, scrolling through the hashtag Shadowverse decks, and it looked fairly interesting, so I thought, why not give it a shot? That's where I pull a lot of decks for videos. It's quite a good source if you're just looking for interesting builds. Not always the most competitive, but definitely somewhere to check out if you're interested. So we're starting off with a pretty solid opening hand, especially going second. We should be able to take pretty decent advantage of what we get here. And the Sylvia on 3 is going to be optimal, so that's always a wonderful thing to have. Going up against Forest isn't always the most fun time, but this deck seems to do quite reasonably against Forest. Especially when they don't play anything in the starting couple of turns like this guy. He kind of just dropped a couple of small things down, didn't really build anything too big, which is always good for me, not so good for them, but honestly I couldn't go wrong taking advantage of that and building a board as quickly as I could. So we get a nice 3 damage to face while clearing that follower and setting up the Sylvia for the future, so not bad at all. This guy is playing a neutral Forest, which definitely piques my interest. It's not something you see every day. Especially with our Icarus coming down, that's going to be absolutely devastating once we get the draw here. As we are going to get the Ancient Artifact along with playing the Hamlin. Of course, it wasn't guaranteed that we'd get Ancient, but it was probably the more likely of any of the other artifacts so far, because we did have 2 in the deck from that Icarus, so why not? So Peerless Shot's going to clear a couple things, not really a big issue for me. A little disappointing, but not too big of a problem, especially when we can instantly play Spinaria, get the advantage out of that, and pretty much just go face. So with this, I think I would have had lethal here, yeah. If I hadn't have misplayed that, I would have had lethal. I should have played the Artifact Spark with the Ancient Artifact there, got 4 to the face, and taken into account Sylvia's effect, but I'd completely forgot that I'd activated Sylvia at that point, because I was trying to focus on just clearing out the Peerless Shot. Didn't really make a big difference, because we can just play Artifact Spark the next turn anyway. We would have been completely fine, pretty much regardless at this point. They don't really run any massive heals, so it really was going to be our game, no matter what. So this is probably going to be a rather short video, as there isn't a lot to this deck. It is very simple, it's very straightforward. Go face, clear out what you can, and get as much damage out of every single card you pretty much can. Also, getting ideal curves is perfect, like this. Goblin, Hamlin, and Crux is always perfect. Or Crux, I don't know, I'm always bad at pronunciation, I don't really care. We'll just call it Gunsmith because it's simple. Either way, Goblin on the play is a great advantage to have in your opener, especially against a rune, because it means you can go quite fast. Of course, they are going to clear out the Hamlin pretty easily regardless, but we're not too worried about that. So we have our turn 3, turn 4, and turn 5 play all lined up here pretty nicely. All we have to do now is play them out. We are going to be baiting quite a bit of damage though, as we know they have the Mysteria Missile, so they're going to clear out the 3-2 anyway. But at this point, all we can really do is go on the play, as there isn't really any other advantage you can make here. I do end up going for the Hamlin play though, favouring the Gunsmith just this time. Otherwise, normally I would have curved out as best I could there. I just felt like that was going to be the only way I'd have a pretty decent matchup. Especially considering I can now play the Gunsmith next turn and be pretty set. So this Runecraft player is running a lot of removal, which isn't a big surprise, but it's definitely a problem going up against this deck, as this deck just has so much potential when it comes to damage from both pings, Sylvia's pings, everything, board damage. I mean, at this stage we're actually doing really well. They have to focus on purely clearing these out, and this Abomination is kind of bad for me. I really don't like seeing this, but we do have the Gunsmith, which again, all we need is this Kookaroo to get one on it and we would have been set. They did end up conceding though, which gave us a pretty quick game. So as I said, this is a pretty short video. There isn't a lot to this deck. It's very straightforward. You're either going to win or lose very quickly, as that's exactly how this deck is designed. Is it good for ranking up? Probably not. If you want consistency, I would definitely take Puppets or a straight artifact deck over this one. But it is reasonable in the sense that it's got some interesting things you can do with it. Playing out a lot of different variety of cards, going for Puppets to really synergize with the other cards that you've got, and using Artifact Spark, which was something I really wanted to do, was get a chance to use that, as I thought it'd be a lot of fun. So if you guys did enjoy this video, do hit the like button and subscribe. Give me some ideas for what you want to see come up next expansion, as most of the videos for this expansion will already be done by now, so hopefully by the time the next expansion comes around, I'll have a good amount of ideas to really show off for you guys. So if you enjoyed it, definitely do follow us for more content. Till next time, see ya.